I've been lucky to get access to the FM26 Alpha. Yesterday I took a general look around, exploring the new UI, the tactics creator and matchday experience. But today I'm going to ask the most important question to me personally. Does it moneyball? Let's set the scene. I started unemployed and then went gallivanting on my holidays for a year. On my return there were some interesting opportunities available. Crystal Palace finished 9th, but Oliver Glasner had been poached by Arsenal. Liverpool women avoided a relegation playoff only by virtue of goal difference. Bayer Leverkusen had a torrid time, finishing just as close to relegation as they did to the European places, whilst Lyon found themselves just 4 places above the drop zone. But we've opted for Monaco. They just about scraped European qualification, yet still finished 4 places below their prediction. Truth be told, this is not a data-led selection, it's an Akliouche-led selection. I don't know yet if his performance warrants keeping amid interest from PSG, but let's find out. Now those familiar with the channel will know that I usually use pizza charts, something a little similar to the attribute polygon but based on statistical output. This was something I built myself inside a custom skin, so obviously won't be part of FM26. Let's instead use the tools in-game. If we head on over to the Performance tab and then to Performance Data, we get this lovely little radar chart, comparing him to other wingers in the division, and it doesn't look pretty. I mean, the chart looks pretty, Akliouche's performances don't. He's below average at everything except progressive passing, and especially notable is how poor his open play expected assist numbers are. In fact, his numbers suggest to me that he might not be playing as a winger at all. If we pop on over to the form graph, which only shows the last 2 games because we've just taken over at the club, then we can see he's been playing in central midfield. Knew it. Now I could have worked this out a lot earlier. If I head over to the data hub and then formation analysis, I can see that Monaco have exclusively used wingerless formations. Now we'll come back here in a moment, but let's pop on over to the squad screen. Now regular FM players will be more than familiar with customizing views, and as mentioned in yesterday's video, this is still very much possible. It'd be tedious watching me put them all together, so let's skip ahead. I've created 3 views, one for out of possession, one for ball progression, and one for the final third. There are no new metrics here, but everything we could view in FM24 is still present. We'll start with out of possession, and I'm going to sort by minutes played. I'm primarily looking at those who have played at least 900 minutes, the equivalent of 10 full games. We've got 14 players. That means from Ratara down, we can't fairly assess their performance. I should also point out that right now, I don't know what good is. I am looking for outliers, players who perform surprisingly high or low in various metrics. Like when it comes to header win rate, Eric Dyer is a long way ahead of the rest. Akliouche appears to be quite good for a more attack-minded midfielder too. In terms of blocks, Kehrer seems to be quite low down compared to his fellow centre-backs, and this appears to be the case with clearances too, while Sicario is very active in this regard. Interceptions are led by our wide defenders, but once again it's Kehrer who sticks out as a concern. And guess what? He struggles at winning tackles too. I think we've identified our weakness. When it comes to applying pressure, again our wide defenders lead the way. In particular, Caio Henrique has a roughly 30% completion rate here, which appears to be much higher than anyone else. Onyeka seems to be pretty active amongst our midfielders. Finally, possession 1, and again it's Kehrer being so far down the list that stands out. But there is some saving grace. He's second in progressive passes. Whilst he attempts more passes than anyone else, he is reasonably safe on the ball. Excluding those with too few minutes, he has the 3rd highest pass completion percentage and the 4th lowest possession loss numbers. I should point out Beereth here. He loses the ball once for roughly every 5 passes attempted, which is a pretty good ratio compared to the other attackers. I expect wingbacks to lose the ball a lot, especially when they're the only ones on the flanks, and subsequently it's no surprise they are our dribbliest of boys. Sicario, is worth noting, is very low down here, but he does cover a lot of ground, a metric again dominated by the wide men, and Akliouche once more appears quite high amongst midfielders. In the final third, Lamine Camara shoots more often than Mika Beereth, which is surprising. is our most accurate though, so he's clearly making good shot choices. That might also be why he's outperforming his XG, although so is Camara and Ansu Fati. Balogun, who is the team's top scorer, is actually underperforming in this regard. From a creativity standpoint, open play key passes per 90, it's the wide men leading the way once again. But it's Ansu Fati who stands out. 0.23 XA from 1.52 key passes means he's creating high quality chances, roughly 0.15 XA per chance. Right, we've been able to identify some trends about our team. Kehrer is a liability in defence. Caio Henrique and Vanderson are expected to do a lot and thankfully performing well. And we lack creativity in midfield. But now we need some context. How do they compare to the rest of Ligue 1? And so we're back at the data hub, specifically player analytics. From here I'm going to load up all the graphs from a specific player group, starting with defenders. First up, defending defenders. This is blocks against clearances. Now that looks overwhelming. At first I was critical that I couldn't identify all the players, certainly not from those small photos, but then realised how messy it would be if they included names. A quick right click on a player and now we know. Moussa Niakate here is pretty close to the average for both. The key thing is that we can quickly identify where our players sit. Now whilst Niakate is the average, we can see there are some major outliers and most defenders are similar to what we have. Someone like Soumala Koulibaly here is perhaps a better indicator of the median. Now I'm not going to go through every graph in this video, I'll just pick out those that are useful to us. Like tackle win rate, Dyer and Kehrer appear to be below the median, which I'd say is roughly around Beraldo here. For header win rate, the median is perhaps a little ahead of Mert Mulder, so we definitely need improvement here. We've got a good balance in midfield, a mix of sprinters and endurance, with no one veering too far from the median. Our possession numbers here are quite encouraging too. We are active at winning the ball and don't surrender it easily. I've perhaps been harsh on Akliouche's creative output. Assists from midfield seem to be a league-wide issue, and he and Kamara are doing alright in this regard. Someone like Felix Lamarechal is better though. Now none of this is new per se. The data hub has been around for years, but as someone who's been dependent on pizza charts and tools outside of the game, it's nice to know there are ways of analysing the data without having to alt-tab out. Now before we talk transfers, let's head into tactics. I'm going to plump with the same strikerless 4-3-3 I used in yesterday's video. Kinda. Beereth will play at the 10, so I'll change him to an attacking midfielder and ask him to hold up the ball. This allows me to keep both attacking wingbacks. I can fit in Akliouche on the right and Minamino, who performed highly in the graphs but barely played, on the left. Zakaria has little attacking intent, so fits the halfback role. Camara can play in the middle, Dyer at the back, Podetsky keeps his spot in goal. That leaves two spots open, left centre back and left centre midfield, so let's pop on over to the squad planner. With Mert Mulder's transfer pre-agreed, we have depth at right back, so Teze can be central cover. Salisu and Marissa played a combined one game out on loan at Fulham and Leeds respectively, but we do have options at left centre back. A pre-agreed transfer for Mario Martin gives us depth in midfield. Onyeka has an £8.5 million optional fee with his loan. Can we find better for cheaper? Ansu Fati's optional fee is £9.5 million, so this will be a position of need too. That's Kehrer transfer listed, Balogun too. Pogba already was, and I don't think that's going to change. So let's look for some midfielders, a la Lamarechal as mentioned earlier, and some competition for Beereth. We'll start with transfer room. Here we can create a requirement. I want a central midfielder with the wide central midfielder role who will be a regular starter. I want another, but this time as a squad player. And finally, an attacking midfielder, both position and role, who will be a striker out of possession, but I'm not going to define the role there. And again, we'll go with regular starter. We'll leave these to run and see what comes our way. Fast forward a little and we've got some recommendations. Louis Leroux in particular has caught my eye. We have a positive scout report, and we can see from the analyst report that he's graded out well at ball progression. Let's give him a whirl. This is not a data-led signing, but I'm keen to see how the transfer room recommendations pan out. At £8.5 million, he will end up being our most expensive signing of the window. Let's go back to transfer room out. We can filter down by position here and see who's looking for players we're trying to get rid of. Brentford want carer, Everton want carer, Nice want carer. No need to look further. Instead of offering one at a time here, we'll do it through carer's profile. We can target our offers. His value is £10 million, so let's give that a try. Though many teams want him, carer insists on staying. He did eventually leave on loan, but that was whilst I was holidaying. There were also plenty of suitors for Balogun, so let's get him offered out too. This proved more fruitful. £15 million from Man United, and he's gone. There was no interest in Pogba, but we can use his agent, and that led to a move to Krasnodar. Little transfer fee, but that's 56k per week off the wage budget. Finally, we lost Christian Mawissa too. Everton came sniffing, and Mawissa wanted to leave, so that's a further £8 million raised. Back to transfers in, and let's use the player database this time. This is very familiar to FM veterans once again. A list of players, and the option to edit search. Let's do that. I'll add in all the divisions I have loaded, and then filter by players with over 1,000 minutes, 1.5 key passes per 90, 0.2 expected assists, and an 80% tackle win rate. 13 results is promising. Barco and Moreira are well beyond our budget. Blas, Lopez and Savannier's wages are likely to be prohibitive, but let's scout the remainder. Michael Cuisance is the one who piques my interest. Experienced, French, and his 93% tackle win rate is impressive. He is injury prone, but we've got a number of midfield options, so as a rotational piece for £2.5 million, he can do a job for us. For the attacking midfielder, I'll use Beereth as a guide. 0.2 expected assists, 0.3 goals, and 40% header win rate. 9 players this time, of which we'll scout all but the top 3. Rayo Vallecano's Randy Nteka is intriguing. His 0.44 goals per 90 exceeds the brief. I think he'll offer good competition to Beereth. £7 million is a lot to me, but it's half of what we recouped from Balogun's sale. So not quite as frugal as I often like to be, but should be interesting. Now, time is pressing, so let's holiday until the end of the season and see how things pan out. 3rd place is pretty decent, but we were a long way off the top 2. I set Beereth as the starter and he didn't disappoint. 25 goals in Ligue 1, 45 across all competitions. The AI preferred Cuisance over Leroux, and the former Hertha man was tidy. 95% pass completion and 0.11 expected assists. It did mean that we ended up loaning out Leroux in the January transfer window, whilst Nteka made 26 substitute appearances. When I do the Moneyball Clinic series, I select the lineup for every match, because my assessment of the squad is always going to be different from the AI's. So let's run another simulation, this time with Nteka and Leroux in the starting lineup. We were sacked. In October. Nteka had been decent, scoring 0.58 goals per 90, whilst Leroux's 0.13 expected assists and 83% tackle win rate was encouraging too. But evidently, Cuisance was the glue that held the team together. Let's be honest, I came into FM26 scared. I love the new UI, I'm excited by the tactical changes and the match day looks phenomenal. But at my core, I'm a data nerd. Without pizza charts, without the chalkboard pitch, without exporting to Excel, I was worried that my very way of playing had gone up in smoke. That's not the case though. I can drill just as deep using the in-game visualizations. I can assess my players compared to their peers. I can make informed, data-led decisions. That doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement. I really hope that SI look to expand on the data hub in the future, bring in functionality to allow you to compare against different divisions, and retain advanced statistics after the season rolls over. But those fears of feeling lost without my pizza charts, they never came to pass. I didn't find myself missing them. I felt informed and thoroughly engrossed in the game. Now at the top, I asked, does FM26 Moneyball? Absolutely. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or maybe even subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, check out yesterday's video where I took a more general look at the FM26 Alpha, focusing on manager creation, the new UI and the matchday experience. And once more, a huge shout out to all who have supported the channel over the last couple of years. It's been a truly whirlwind experience and I appreciate each and every one of you.